Well, welcome everyone. We're glad to have you here. This is another big step for South Carolina. I don't know if we have the assets all working together like this in other states. If they are doing it, we'd like to know if they're doing something that we haven't thought of. But this is a great step forward. We're doing all we can to educate our young people. We are growing. We have businesses expanding. We have people all over the world that want to invest hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. Here we have parents raising children that want them to be safe and get educated. They know that education is the key to their future. So many things that we have to do that involve or require public safety. I think we have the best law enforcement establishment in the whole country, but this is taking us again into the future, the great future for our people. This is the Center for School Safety and Targeted Violence. As you know, we're in an old school building, and as you know, that's where some of the most dangerous and violent instances and incidents occur with shooters. So how do you guard against that? Besides having good, strong laws and good, strong law enforcement, you have to have good training. If you've done it before, you can do it again. And if you train under conditions that simulate those that you would be responding to in dangerous, highly dangerous and sensitive emergencies, then the chances of successful performance increase dramatically. So that's what we're doing. That's what this school is going to be used for law officers, for school administrators, for teachers, for bus drivers, for everyone in between, to be able to simulate and respond to an active shooter situation in a school. And of course, that will also transfer to other such buildings and locations. So that's what we're doing today. This is a great step forward for our people, and we look forward to keep doing things that move our people forward.
Okay. Good morning. As the governor said, this is a great opportunity for South Carolina. It's a great opportunity for our law enforcement, and more importantly, it's a great opportunity to try and do everything we can within our powers to keep our kids safe. I think we all realize that our children are the most valuable resource that we have, and when we, as parents, send them to school, we expect to pick them up in the afternoon, and so that's what this is all about. Governor, I want to first thank you, and I want to thank members of the General Assembly, and especially the Lexington delegation, for all the support that they had for the concept of what we're about to do here at Gilbert. A special thank you go to the residents of Gilbert, and I'm probably going to end up skipping over somebody, but I just want to say everyone that I talked to when we started talking about this concept was supportive. I talked to Mayor Reeder here, and he's here somewhere. I don't know where he's at. There he is. And I know that the Gilbert community is excited about this, and we are as well. I want to thank Lexington District 1 School Board. Obviously, it would not be possible without them. The members of that board, the chair of that board, we would not be having this event here today. I want to thank Dr. Postlewaite. I think she had another engagement. I don't know whether she made it here, but I want to thank her for her unwavering support as well, for keeping our young people safe. None of this would have been possible, again, were it not for the unbelievable support that we had from this community and from the school district and from the General Assembly, members of the General Assembly. From the beginning, getting support of this community, to me, was the most important thing. And I told Mayor Reeder this morning, the one thing that I want to assure this community is that SLED is going to be a good community citizen as well. And we're going to be a good partner here in this community. This partnership between Lexington District 1, the Department of Education, and SLED began with a conversation that I had with former Department of Education Superintendent Molly Spearman in January of 2022. And those communications continued to grow, and then we had a conversation. I had a conversation with former Superintendent of Lexington District 1, Greg Little, who's here, and Lexington County Sheriff Jay Kuhn, and then I started talking with, again, all the members of the Lexington delegation and members of the General Assembly, the governor's office, and again, it was something that it was probably one of the easiest things I've ever had to do to try to sell in state government is what a benefit this would be to our children. So after nearly 2 years, this concept is now reality, and I could not be more proud again of the teamwork that got us here. I've never heard any dissent, and I've heard nothing but buy-in from everyone. SLED's active shooter unit began consistently training in this facility in 2017, but our unit started training initially back in 2012, and we started doing that with Homeland Security funds, and that program was funded through Homeland Security. As of today, we've trained over 250,000 people nationwide in violence response and recovery, with focus being here in South Carolina. And I think that everyone knows that recent events across the country show us that we must do all we can to prepare our law enforcement, our school personnel, our students, parents, and the community for these unimaginable events. The Center for School Safety and Targeted Violence will train personnel year-round in actual school environment. And that was the big advantage to having a facility like this. We try to train in the environment. We can't recreate this at the police academy or anywhere else. We can't recreate long hallways, cafeterias, gyms, stairwells that we have here in a school like this, and that's what made this environment just the perfect place to conduct this training. It's important, again, to have that facility. Like I've said, the school had everything that we were looking for to develop it into a state-of-the-art training facility. Some examples of the type of training that we'll be doing is we obviously will be doing active shooter and reality-based training. We'll be doing behavioral threat assessments. We'll have 2 full-time behavioral science unit agents that will work here with our local schools in an effort to identify issues and those troubled students before there's a crisis. We'll provide mental health first aid for children and adults and rescue task force training with our other first responder agencies like our fire and EMS. We'll do tactical bus assault training, stop the bleed training. We'll also include our community members in that training as well if they would like. Again, I am very grateful to Lexington School District 1, the Lexington and Gilbert communities, and our state leaders for entrusting SLED with operating the Center for School Safety and Targeted Violence. I can't think of a more important mission than keeping our kids safe. And Governor, again, I want to thank you for your support as always in this most important endeavor, and for you always supporting us in law enforcement here in South Carolina, and I want to thank you for that.
Good morning, Ellen Weaver, State Superintendent of Education, and I just want to add my thanks to Chief Keels, to each of the different stakeholders that have made today's event possible. This is truly one of the most important conversations, maybe the most important conversation that we could be having regarding education in the state of South Carolina. Because if our students and our teachers aren't safe, nothing else matters. And so if we want our students to achieve their highest expectation, their full potential, we know that they have to be able to concentrate on the learning and the instruction that's happening in the classroom in front of them. And on behalf of the entire education system in South Carolina, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to every single member of our law enforcement community. When we look at events that we have seen happen around the state in previous months, some of these swatting incidents that we've heard about, the response time of our law enforcement has been absolutely unbelievable. Minutes when minutes matter. And so we are so grateful for this partnership, for the ability to, as the governor often says, communicate, collaborate, and cooperate around this issue of school safety. A few things that we have been working on at the Department of Education in regards to school safety, again, to increase our communication and our collaboration, is we have created an Office of Safe Schools that is now headed by James Bubba Rawl, former member of SLED. So thank you, Chief. Y'all trained him up well. We are so thankful to have him as a member of our team. Also, he formerly served on a school board. And so as our school board members here can attest, that is an important skill set in and of itself to be able to speak both the law enforcement and the education lingo. And so we're incredibly grateful to have him as a force multiplier on our team at the department. The governor will speak in a minute about my #1 budget priority this year, which is school mapping. We know that the ability of law enforcement to understand the situation and the dynamic into which they are moving is absolutely essential when minutes matter and lives are on the line. And so I'm incredibly grateful to the governor for his partnership that he'll talk about later, to the Education Oversight Committee, and to so many others who understand that we have to focus on the fundamentals if we are going to prioritize safety, and obviously having a shared mapping system that both our educators and our law enforcement can access, especially in a mobile age like we live in, even on your cell phone, is really, really important to ensure that our students are safe. One other thing that I wanted to mention briefly in our budget request to the General Assembly this next year is essentially a digital fencing tool that will allow us to continue to assess alarming or worrisome behavior that is taking place on school-issued devices. At the Department of Education, we've already piloted this program with over 50,000 students in the state. Incidents that were stopped on school devices in real time. Of course, we have to think about what's actually happening on those digital devices, and so I have started a conversation with our local superintendents to understand how they are addressing the issue of cell phone use within schools. We know that cyberbullying, threats, and many other things are happening on those personal digital devices, and so that is something that we have to continue to think about and address as we look at this critical issue of school safety. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Director Woods, and again, I just want to say one more time how deeply grateful we are for this partnership with our law enforcement community.